Stories that are untold, underreported, and all-out inspirational. Carey Pena reports.
Hey guys, I'm Carey Pena. Thank you so much for listening to Carey Pena Reports on iTunes and Stitcher, and for watching our live streams on Facebook and YouTube. You can always connect with us at Inspired Media 360, and of course find us online at inspiredmedia360.com. On this podcast, we always focus on people who have highly inspirational stories to share. And today I'd like to introduce Dave Cook. Dave, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for inviting me.
So we're going to talk about how to make a plan that will allow you to help loved ones when they need it most, but by first helping yourself. You have a really incredible journey to share with the audience. You've been on a bit of a healing journey. Let's start there. What happened? You kind of hit rock bottom, about 6 years ago?
A little over 6 years ago. It was right around the holidays of 2010. And I just did, my youngest son has been struggling with some stuff with an addiction. And I realized that my life had completely spiraled out of control in a quest to save him. And my health, my business, my personal relationships had significantly were damaged to the point where I was hiding out. And I was struggling even just to get out of bed in the morning.
What was that like?
It was the worst. I mean, the bottom line is that there were days where I basically had this little prayers like, God, just give me a heart attack so I can escape this. You know, it was more than I could bear. And one night I was just sitting on the porch just kind of lamenting the situation, and I came to this realization that I was sitting on the porch a lot lamenting the situation and not doing a whole lot about it. And I just challenged myself and said, okay, what do you got to do? You got to get healthy. You got to change this. You know, because what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And so I challenged myself to ride my bike for an hour a day for 100 days in a row, knowing that every day that I start my day in a positive place with something like a bike ride gave me better perspective to handle the issues of the day.
This was your 100-day challenge.
Yes, the 100-day challenge.
So take me to that moment for a second, because I think it's really important. When you were sitting on your porch, what was it you think that kind of pushed you over the edge, that said, come on, get up, stop this?
I think it was when I realized that this wasn't me. I mean, I'm a pretty energetic, powerful kind of guy. I'm a can-do type A kind of guy. And to be in this situation where I'm looking forward to dying instead of living, where I'm to this point where I'm broken to tears praying for my son to be better and my life to be better and not really doing anything, I just kind of realized that this isn't you. This isn't who you are. You got to do something about it, because nothing's going to change until you do something about it.
So the next day, tell me how that played out. When you hopped on your bike.
Well, it was more than one day, but the day that I did it, I took about a day and a half or two to digest the challenge. But yeah, I got on my bike. I mean, it was that simple. I said, I'm going to ride my bike for an hour a day, 100 days in a row. And I just did it. I mean, I can't explain it any other than I just said, okay, let's go. And I set the alarm, and I got up, and I put on my bike clothes, dragged my bike out of the garage, and I got on, and I rode. And I rode for an hour and 8 minutes or something like that. And when I came home, I had stuff in my head. I mean, it was amazing, the quote. In fact, I actually came home with a quote. It said, some people choose to embrace the darkness. I choose to look for the light. And that was like, wow, that's really powerful. That's really cool. And it inspired me. And I came home and I wrote some notes and jogged some stuff down. And I was ready for the next day. And the next day I did the same thing. I went for a ride. I was energized. I came home. I wrote some stuff down, had another saying. I wish I could tell you it was as brilliant as the first one. But, you know, and I journaled some other things, and I was ready for the next day. And it just created this huge momentum. And every day I had a saying, and every day I journaled, and every day I wrote. And the more I did those things, the more I found hope and energy for the situation that I was in. I could feel myself getting stronger. I felt myself getting more confident. I found myself getting some clarity as it related to the issues that I was dealing with.
Did you find yourself becoming more hopeful?
Hopeful is an interesting word. Probably not. I think it was more confidence. Because at that point in time, when you think of it before the bike ride, I didn't have a whole lot of confidence. I felt like I was a failure as a dad. My son was struggling with this addiction. I felt like a failure because I'm a business coach. This is what I do for a living, is I inspire people. And I can't inspire the person I love the most to change and choose the path that I want for them, no matter how much I loved them, coached them, and encouraged them. And I felt like a failure.
I mean, I imagine that you just feel kind of broken inside.
Totally broken. It's because that's the most important thing. You see your children in a situation where they're not anywhere where they desire to be themselves. And when they're first born, you see all this promise, and you watch them develop and evolve and have all these energy, and you see their personality, and you see their character, and you hear them talk about their hopes and dreams. And then fast forward 15 or so many years later, and you see them in this place where they're broken, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's devastating. There's no other word to describe it.
So as you were healing yourself, it allowed you to become better prepared to try to help your son heal. Let's talk about your son's journey for a moment. Your son is Brandon. He'll be 30 years old this year.
Yeah, he's a big boy now.
He started smoking marijuana, you told me, and that elevated into a full-scale heroin addiction. Mm-hmm. Talk to me about that.
It was a long journey. I mean, it started when he was in 8th grade. One day I came home from work and caught him smoking pot on the back porch. And I'm a child of the 70s, so for me, seeing my kid smoking pot wasn't like the happiest day in my life, but I figured, we'll just have a talk about it and he'll move on. And not really, as a parent, paying attention to the seriousness of the situation, the abnormality of the situation, the kid smoking dope at 14 years old. And he continued to, he started hanging out with a different group of kids. He was a soccer player, and he'd gotten, sort of struggled in school, and he started hanging out with a different group of kids because he couldn't play soccer because his grades dropped, and, the evolution of just crazy things that happen. But he started experimenting, and next thing you know, it turned into a heroin addiction. And we found out that he was homeless, living on the streets back where he grew up, which is in Detroit, and we went on this quest to save him. And we've been through the heroin journey. I mean, people read about it all the time, but we had the stuff that everybody deals with. There's overdose experiences. He got arrested in front of us a couple times at our house. He's had to leave the house. He's stolen from us. He's stolen from his brothers and sisters. It's just been, that was a challenging part of the journey.
So as you were doing your 100-day challenge, and you got into the place where you were feeling more confident, how did that help you then help your son?
Well, what it did was it helped me create very clear, healthy boundaries for my son. Because one of the things that I was doing, and this is the thing that most parents really struggle with when their kids are in trouble, period, is we want to go into rescue mode. And when we go into rescue mode, what we're really doing is we're bringing our own fears, doubts, and concerns into the situation, afraid that we failed as a parent, afraid that somebody might find out that something, the deep, dark secret in the family, that my kid got arrested or that my kid's doing drugs.
A lot of negative energy.
Yeah. And we bring that toxicity into the solution. So we're really not helping our kids. We're actually helping them. We're bringing our garbage into our kids' own trouble. So when I'm on these bike rides and I'm finding clarity and I'm finding purpose and I'm getting a better sense of confidence about who I am as a parent and the things that I need to do as a dad, what it did was it allowed me to back up and detach myself from some of the situation. It created healthy boundaries. And in creating healthy boundaries, now I was very clear on what things that I needed to do for my son and what things my son needed to do for himself. And that's a huge shift, because I remember at the end of the bike ride, I said to my son, I'm not going to help you with your recovery anymore. And he goes, that's good. I said, why? He said, because now I have to be responsible for it for myself. Up until now, I didn't have to worry because you were taking care of it.
Wow.
And that was the truth. Why should I worry about something if Dad's going to worry about it?
What is his life like today?
His life is a lot different. I mean, it took him 10 years to get to the place that he's at, but he is 8 months clean. He's working very hard at his recovery in ways that he's never worked at it before. He's seeing a therapist. He's dealing with the issues that he really needs to deal with relative to his addiction. And he's excited about where he is. And it's all because he's doing the work.
And you ended up launching a nonprofit called 100 Pedals, which is very appropriate. And you cycled coast to coast, basically. The last one was Cycling for Recovery campaign, Route 66 from Santa Monica to Chicago and then on to Detroit, 2,500 miles.
Yeah, pretty cool, huh?
What was that like?
It was amazing. It was amazing. I mean, there are 3 aspects to the trip. Obviously, the adventure of riding 60 plus miles every day, 6 days a week for 7 weeks was amazing. I mean, And on Route 66, I mean, you know how it's America's legendary highway. And I tell people it wasn't the cities that, were trying to rekindle the spirit of Route 66. What was really cool about Route 66 were the broken down buildings that you could see had the architectural remnants of that period of time. Say, oh, there's a ghost, there's another ghost. And even there were stretches of the road where the original road. It was amazing,
I think there's something interesting there, though, about you riding past and seeing the broken down buildings, but in that, appreciating.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Because we know here we are, we're in this situation where, we go flying by everything. That's our society today. And this is life in slow motion. And experiencing life in slow motion is a beautiful thing.
And what you're trying to do is what? When you stop at various cities along the way, you're trying to not only raise awareness, but you're really trying to get down to the nitty-gritty with folks who want to hear what you've been through, and moreover, how you have found some healing in your heart so you can better help your child.
Right. Absolutely. And I think the highlight of that trip was the people that I didn't expect, but I would have people come up to me while I'm drinking a glass of water or having a banana on a break and coming up to the van and telling me their addiction story, and in the middle of nowhere. It was just, that was the most moving thing, because I just didn't know how to handle that. I didn't expect it. And these people, random people, would pull up and say, what's this about? I'd tell them, and they'd start telling me their addiction story, whether it's about a family member or themselves or whatever. That's why we're doing this trip again, because it was the connecting with the people on those individual moments were way more powerful than I can even describe.
Yeah, you have another trip coming up in August, which is why I wanted to invite you here today. But very quickly, before we wrap up, I think it is important, some of the statistics that you sent over to me. Over 23 million people are currently struggling with an addiction. And you say the fastest growing demographic are pre-seniors and children in upper middle class and upper class communities. I think there are a lot of people who still feel, even though that we widely report on addiction and the deep problems in this country, but I still think that some people think, oh, it's them. Mm-hmm. It's the people who have a lot of problems. Those are the ones who have addiction issues. That's not the case.
Not at all. And the whole notion is that my kid would never do drugs. I hear that a lot. My kid knows he's loved. My kid, is a great kid. He's popular in school. He's an athlete. He's a genius. It doesn't matter. My kid will never. And the problem is that's Brandon. Brandon was a great athlete. He's got great energy. He knows if you asked him, he wouldn't, solicited. He'd volunteer without solicited. He knows he was loved by his brothers and his brother and sister and his mom and his dad. It had nothing to do with those things. He has something inside of him that we don't understand, because we all have our secrets. He had something inside of him that just was causing him pain. And the way he dealt with his pain, whatever that was, he found it in a drug. And that's what addiction is about, is a way that it's a learned coping mechanism for how we deal with the things that we don't know how to deal with. And that doesn't mean your kid is messed up or you messed up. It means that they have something that they're struggling to deal with. And it can happen to anybody, because that's true.
What do you think people should take away from your story? Not necessarily Brandon's story, but Dave's story.
Wow, my story, more than anything else, is that love trumps everything. And there's the opposite of love is fear. And what I lived in this state and before with my son, is I was fearful of failing as a parent. I was fearful of falling down. I was fearful of not being successful in this thing. And what I wasn't allowing my love to come through. When I understand what pure love is, and surrender my love to other people, it's all about the other person and what they need and why they need it. Once I went into that mode of love and peace, then everything came to me in a way that I was able to give it and share it and all the other stuff. So that's really what it is that make that transition to love. Understand that, we're all going through some stuff. Allow yourself to love, allow yourself to be love, and keep moving forward.
Wishing you all the best. Your upcoming trip is August 28th, Charleston to San Diego.
Woohoo.
Going to be out there on the bike. If anyone sees you pedaling on by, just wave. Honk, maybe not honk. Does that scare you when people honk?
Only when they honk from behind.
Dave, thank you so much. And where can people find you?
At 100 pedals, the number 100, pedalslikebikepedals.com.
Wishing Brandon all the best.
Yeah, thank
continued recovery. And thanks to all of you for listening to Carey Pena Reports. Be sure to subscribe to us and get all of our exclusive interviews and content at inspiredmedia360.com. We have a few new shows coming up, so you want to stay tuned for that. Today's show produced and engineered by Shannon Hernandez, brought to you by Inspired Media 360. Until next time, stay inspired.